Hello, everyone. I just wanted to go over classical conditioning for you and give you an easy way to figure out the assignment that you have to do. In the assignment this week, the question asks you to identify the 5 elements of classical conditioning, which is neutral stimulus, conditioned stimulus, unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned response, and conditioned response. I think your textbook may list it as UC instead of UCS and UR instead of UCR, but it's the same. US and UR are the same as UCS and UCR. One of the key elements with classical conditioning is a paired association between elements. In Pavlov's classic experiment, we had the dog salivating to the sound of a bell, okay? And the bell doesn't cause dogs to salivate. Dogs don't naturally salivate to bells. They may look at the bell, they may sniff the bell, but they don't spontaneously start salivating. However, what they do innately do is they salivate to food. An unconditioned stimulus is something that makes something occur naturally, innately in the individual, in the animal, okay? It doesn't have to be learned or trained to do that. So in the case of Pavlov, it was the food, all right? Now, Pavlov created this whole experiment because he won a Nobel Peace Prize in the digestive systems of looking at the digestive systems of dogs. And so the dogs begin to do something very strange in Pavlov's experiment. They begin to salivate to objects that weren't food, like the sounds of footsteps, doors opening, closing, the bowl itself without any food. And so he began to be curious about why are the dogs behaving this way? And that's how we came about realizing what classical conditioning is. So in order to do your assignment, we're going to look at a technique to help you figure out what each of the element is in each one of the 5 questions. Okay, so every question you have to identify the neutral stimulus, the conditioned stimulus, the unconditioned response, the conditioned response, and the unconditioned stimulus. So each one of the questions, you have to have 5 answers for each one of the 5 questions. Okay, the first question is about flushing the toilet and jumping in the hot shower. Okay, so in Pavlov's experiment, we had the bell, which was neutral, that didn't elicit any response in the dog. But when it's paired with the food, it elicits the unconditioned response. So Pavlov took the neutral stimulus, okay, and paired it with the unconditioned stimulus, which caused the unconditioned response, okay, which is salivation, okay? So he paired the food with the bell. Ring, ring, food, the dog salivated. 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 Pavlov had to repeatedly pair the food and the bell so the dogs would associate, connect that the food was associated, or the bell meaning the food was coming, the food was on its way, okay? So the neutral stimulus gets paired with the unconditioned stimulus, which was the food, which caused the unconditioned response. And that happens repeatedly. He paired the bell and the food together. Ring, ring, food, the dog salivated. Ring, ring, food, the dog salivated. Ring, ring, food, the dog salivated. Then what Pavlov did was he eliminated the food and then just presented the bell alone. Oops, change the color here. Presented the bell alone, and then that cause the unconditioned response again, okay? So ring, 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 ring. What did the dog do? It had the response, okay? But now the response is conditioned because it was paired with the unconditioned response, okay? The unconditioned stimulus, sorry. So if you notice here that the neutral stimulus becomes the conditioned stimulus. The neutral stimulus becomes the conditioned stimulus, and the unconditioned response becomes the conditioned response, So if you can identify what the neutral stimulus is, then you know what the conditioned stimulus is. If you can identify what the unconditioned response or the response in general, then you know what the conditioned response is. Then only thing you have to figure out, only thing that would be left is what is the unconditioned stimulus. So this is the thing that naturally occurs without any kind of training or understanding, okay? So this naturally occurs without any training or understanding, all right? So when you're doing your assignment, you need to identify the neutral stimulus, the unconditioned stimulus, the unconditioned response, the conditioned stimulus, and the conditioned response. Okay, so list each one of these in your assignment and then tell me what each one is, okay? So the neutral stimulus, the thing that shouldn't cause a response, okay? So if we took the first assignment, the neutral stimulus would be the toilet. Okay, the toilet flush, okay? And since you know the neutral stimulus becomes the conditioned stimulus, then you know the conditioned stimulus is the toilet flush, okay? Then we would have change my line width. Then we have the unconditioned response, okay? And the unconditioned response would be the jump. Because it's hot, that water was hot, so I'm gonna jump. And we know that the unconditioned response is the same as the unconditioned response is the same as the conditioned response, and therefore that would be the jump. Okay, so the only thing we have left is to figure out what is the neutral aspect in that question. What normally doesn't make people jump, okay? Oh. No, I should have said that wrong. What normally the unconditioned stimulus would be cause the innate response, okay? So the unconditioned stimulus would cause say, give us an innate response. And what would be that innate response? The innate response would be jumping, right? The unconditional response would be jumping. Then what, in this question, what is the stimulus that caused people to jump, would cause people to jump? It couldn't be the toilet flushing, because if I flush a toilet, it wouldn't automatically make me jump. But what in this question, in the first question, would cause me to automatically jump back if it happened to me? It would be the hot water. Okay, would be the hot water, all right? Hot water, you don't have to train me to move my hand, to jump back, to move out the way, because it innately causes me to have a response, okay? So it's a stimulus that innately causes me to have a response. However, if I hear a flushing toilet, that shouldn't make me respond any kind of way. So that's a neutral stimulus. And remember, the neutral stimulus becomes a conditioned stimulus. So the flushing toilet becomes the conditioned stimulus, okay? The unconditioned response is paired with the neutral stimulus. The flushing toilet is paired with the hot water, which causes the unconditional response of jumping. And remember, the unconditional response now becomes the conditional response, which is the jump. So for question one, you put neutral stimulus, toilet flushing. Unconditioned stimulus, hot water. Unconditional response, jump. Conditioned stimulus, toilet flushing. Conditioned response, jump. Okay? So remember, the neutral stimulus always becomes a conditioned stimulus. The unconditioned response always becomes a conditioned response. And the unconditioned stimulus, in the case here, our unconditioned stimulus, is a stimulus that causes an innate reaction. We don't have to learn that it's going to cause us to react. It's a stimuli that will produce an unconditional response. We don't have to, there's no learning, that it naturally occurs biologically within us. It's something that is reflexive, okay, that happens. All right. And that is a quick overview of classical conditioning, so you can answer the assignment. Thanks for watching.